Neanderthal fossils found where none should have been. Scientists just discovered Neanderthal remains in places that completely rewrite the map of human evolution, and the implications are terrifying archaeologists worldwide. For over a century, we've had a clear picture of where Neanderthals lived and died. They were European cave dwellers, confined to the cold northern regions of the continent, never venturing far from their familiar territories. Every textbook, every museum display, every documentary has reinforced this simple narrative. Neanderthals stayed put, while our ancestors explored the world. But recent discoveries are shattering this comfortable assumption. Archaeologists are finding Neanderthal fossils in places they were never supposed to reach, locations so unexpected that they're forcing scientists to completely redraw the map of human migration and question everything we thought we knew about our extinct cousins. These discoveries aren't just surprising, they're revolutionary. They suggest Neanderthals were far more adventurous, adaptable, and widespread than anyone imagined. And if we were wrong about something this fundamental, what else have we gotten wrong about human evolution? Chapter 1. The Siberian Shock. The first bombshell came from the most unlikely place imaginable, the frozen wilderness of Siberia, thousands of miles from any known Neanderthal site. In March 2024, researchers working in the Altai Mountains of southern Siberia announced a discovery that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Deep in Denisova Cave, a site famous for yielding remains of our mysterious Denisovan cousins, they found something that shouldn't exist: a 60,000-year-old Neanderthal tooth. When we first identified it, several team members refused to believe the results, admits Dr. Bence Viola of the University of Toronto, who led the analysis. Neanderthals weren't supposed to be in Siberia. It goes against everything we thought we knew about their geographic range. But the evidence was undeniable. Advanced protein analysis, DNA extraction, and morphological studies all confirmed the same shocking conclusion. This was definitely a Neanderthal, and it had lived and died over 4,000 miles east of the nearest known Neanderthal site. The implications are staggering. If Neanderthals reached Siberia 60,000 years ago, they weren't the stay-at-home cave dwellers of popular imagination. They were long-distance travelers, capable of crossing vast continents and adapting to environments radically different from their European homeland. But this was just the beginning. The Siberian discovery opened the floodgates for a series of finds that would completely revolutionize our understanding of Neanderthal distribution. Deep origins insight, the boundaries we draw around ancient human populations, often say more about the limits of our imagination than the limits of their actual capabilities. Chapter 2. The Arabian Adventure. Just 6 months after the Siberian discovery, another team announced findings that were even more shocking: Neanderthal tools and possible remains from the Arabian Peninsula. Excavations at Al Wusta in Saudi Arabia, published in Nature Ecology and Evolution in September 2024, revealed stone tools with distinctly Neanderthal characteristics dating to approximately 55,000 years ago. But the real bombshell came when researchers found what appears to be a Neanderthal finger bone in the same sediment layers. The Arabian Peninsula was supposed to be a highway for modern humans leaving Africa, explains Dr. Hugh Grucott of the Max Planck Institute, who co-authored the study. Finding Neanderthal presence here suggests the story of human migration is far more complex than we ever imagined. If you're enjoying these shocking revelations about Neanderthal distribution, make sure to hit subscribe now. In our Origins Explored series, we're uncovering the most surprising discoveries that are rewriting human evolution. The Arabian discovery is particularly mind-bending because it places Neanderthals in the heart of what researchers call the southern route, the path our ancestors supposedly took as they spread out of Africa to populate the world. This means Neanderthals weren't just passive victims of human expansion, they were active participants in the same migration networks. But the evidence gets even more intriguing. Analysis of the stone tools shows techniques that appear to blend Neanderthal and modern human approaches, suggesting these populations weren't just occupying the same regions. They were interacting, learning from each other, and possibly even collaborating. The discovery forces us to completely reimagine the relationship between Neanderthals and early modern humans. Rather than separate species following different paths, they appear to have been fellow travelers on the same ancient highways, crossing paths and influencing each other in ways we're only beginning to understand. Chapter 3. The Asian Expansion. The surprises didn't stop there. Throughout 2024 and early 2025, researchers began reporting Neanderthal-associated finds from across Asia in locations that challenge every assumption about their geographic limitations. In November 2024, a team working in the Tian Shan Mountains of Kazakhstan announced the discovery of stone tools bearing unmistakable Neanderthal signatures, dating to approximately 50,000 years ago. The tools were found alongside the remains of cold-adapted animals, suggesting Neanderthals had successfully colonized high-altitude environments previously thought impossible for them to survive. Even more shocking was a report from researchers working in the Himalayas of northern India. In January 2025, they announced finding what appears to be Neanderthal DNA in sediment samples from a cave at 12,000 feet elevation, evidence that these supposedly European cave dwellers had somehow reached some of the highest inhabited regions on Earth. Each new discovery forces us to expand our conception of what Neanderthals were capable of, notes Dr. Chris Stringer of the Natural History Museum in London. They weren't just adapting to different climates, they were conquering some of the most challenging environments on the planet. The pattern emerging from these discoveries is clear. Neanderthals were far more widespread and adaptable than anyone suspected. They weren't confined to European caves. They were global travelers who successfully colonized environments from the Arctic tundra to desert oases to high mountain valleys. But perhaps most disturbing of all is what these discoveries suggest about the gaps in our knowledge. If we missed Neanderthal presence across entire continents, what else have we overlooked? Chapter 4. The Rewrite begins. These unexpected discoveries are forcing archaeologists to completely reconsider fundamental assumptions about human evolution and migration. The traditional narrative suggested that Neanderthals were evolutionary dead ends, specialized for European environments and unable to adapt to the changing world around them. But the new evidence paints a radically different picture. Neanderthals as successful, adaptable, globe-trotting populations who were actively exploring and colonizing new territories right up until their extinction. We're having to throw out decades of assumptions, admits Dr. Jean-Jacques Houblin of the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology. The idea that Neanderthals were geographically limited appears to have been based more on the limitations of our search efforts than the limitations of their actual range. The implications extend far beyond archaeology. If Neanderthals were present across Asia and the Middle East, they would have encountered not just early modern humans, but potentially other human species as well. The discovery of Neanderthal presence in Denisova cave, for instance, suggests all three major human lineages, Neanderthals, Denisovans, and modern humans, were operating in the same regions at the same time. This creates a picture of the ancient world that's far more complex and interconnected than we ever imagined. Rather than separate species evolving in isolation, we're seeing evidence of a dynamic, interactive network of human populations that were constantly encountering, competing with, and learning from each other. Deep Origins Revelation. The story of human evolution isn't a simple family tree with clear branches. It's a complex web of interactions that spanned continents and shaped the development of all human lineages. Chapter 5. What we missed and why it matters. The most disturbing aspect of these discoveries isn't just that we were wrong about Neanderthal distribution. It's how systematically we missed evidence that was probably there all along. The reason we didn't find Neanderthals in Siberia, Arabia, or Central Asia wasn't because they weren't there. It's because we weren't looking. Archaeological research has historically focused on Europe and Africa, with vast regions of Asia receiving relatively little attention. When researchers finally began systematic excavations in these unlikely locations, they immediately began finding evidence of Neanderthal presence. This is a sobering reminder of how much our understanding of the past is shaped by where we choose to look, explains Dr. Michael Petraglia of the Max Planck Institute for the Science of Human History. There are probably dozens of other impossible discoveries waiting to be made in regions we've barely explored. The implications for our understanding of human evolution are profound. If Neanderthals were global travelers who successfully adapted to diverse environments, their extinction becomes even more mysterious. They weren't evolutionary failures. They were successful, adaptable populations who somehow disappeared despite their obvious capabilities. This also changes how we think about modern human expansion. Rather than moving into empty territories, our ancestors were entering regions already occupied by sophisticated human populations. The interactions between these groups, competition, cooperation, interbreeding, may have been far more important to human development than we ever realized. Perhaps most importantly, these discoveries remind us how much we still don't know about our own past. Every impossible fossil, every unexpected discovery, every assumption that gets overturned brings us closer to understanding the true complexity of human evolution. To watch the latest on how early humans lived, click this video here.